You should know that I'm getting old, like all of us, and can't see worth a dime. I gotta get really, really close. Thanks for all of you for being here. Thanks, Florence. Is Florence? I see you there. This is the close glasses, so I really cannot see. All I see is a blur. But thank you for being here, Manny, her husband. All of John's sons and daughters, we're all here. The only one that's missing is Carol. Carol is one of our half-sisters. Carol is one of our half-sisters, and she's in Florida, but can't be here at all. Our spouses who are here with us, and for those who couldn't attend, are his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren that are attending today. And from those that couldn't come, and all of the many cousins that come from this island, Oahu, mainland, they came. And that means a lot to John, his family, and all of us internally because he touched us in a certain way. Thanks for all being, thank you all over here. Thank you, and speak English, for all of you for being here to remember and share our loss of the family and the community, our grief, but mostly the love that we have for our John and Joyce who are now gone. Dad was born on Honolulu, I believe. If anybody gets me wrong, throw a rock at her.
Ever.
But he was born in Honolulu. I'm not going to say specifically.
Ever.
But Ever Beats on Oahu in 1930, January 31st. And I believe during that time frame, during the heyday of pineapple season, he had moved to Maui with Tatai, our grandfather. Is that correct, Florence?
Yeah.
I believe he went to Maui for a bit, and then they came to Molokai to start the plantation. Our great-grandfather, our grandfather, was a human resource development person. In other words, he went and got people from the Philippines and all other places to come here to work the pineapple fields. He must have told them it was paradise, only to find out you're working in a bloody pineapple field, and that's tough. But anyway, Dad grew up in this emerging plantation, and he had lots of close friends, and he developed deep friendships, such as Rosie, Rito. They were all cliques. They stuck together as young kids. And Rosie always said that they kept Dad in line until he got to a certain age and he just couldn't behave himself anymore. But he developed deep friendships with all the community members here and ties with local families that had lasted throughout his entire lifetime. And you know, our father was not much on words. When you had a discussion with him, you could have any conversation with him that worked out pretty good. But when he was upset or didn't want to talk to you, he was only like 3 or 4 phrases like, you don't say, you don't say. That means the conversation with Dad was done. Or in my case, I pressed his buttons a lot because I want to go past that you don't say. So he would say, confounded you, and throw a slipper at me. Because he found that spanking me just didn't work at all. And mostly when he was really, really upset, he said, sometimes I wonder about you, boy. Because he would question, am I going to become someone who's a sociopath? Possibly. I was told by many that our father was mischievous and a prankster, and we can't verify that. But when I did ask him on several occasions, you know what answer he gave me? You don't say, huh? You don't say. And he wouldn't tell anymore. But he would say, I know what I did was wrong, but you don't say. Just let it go. After high school, he briefly spent time in the seminary, but he was called back home for family reasons. Thank God he didn't finish becoming a priest, because none of us would be here today, not even Joyce. So he came back to support the family. And working in the California Packing Corporation at the time, which then transitioned to Del Monte. And he worked in the fields initially. And he told me a story on, I guess they had no child labor laws back in the day. And he told me a story because I asked him about December 7th, 1941. And I guess they work on Sundays for us. They had kids working out in the field. That's terrible. But that day, on that morning, he said he saw planes flying overhead. and they had a red dot on them. So it's really interesting that he has a whole bunch of stories of all of us in our local community, and he shared them periodically when we questioned him or that we had anything to ask. What did you do? Who's that? They would know. Joyce would know also. They knew just about everybody. Now I have to rely on Rosie to tell me, who's that? Who's this? Because I don't know. Everyone had gotten older. That's the way life is. But Dad, we retired from Del Monte. He was working as the logistical support manager, and back then it was called just a stockroom clerk. But he did a lot of the supplies, these were the materials so they could fix the harvesters and everything that we disliked so much about working in a pine field. A broken harvester meant time off, a break, and your favorite snack, pineapple. We had lots and lots of that. Our dad was exceptionally family-oriented. You can tell by all the jam sessions he always had at every party. But he ensured his growing family had the room to expand because we had a whole bunch of us, all these kids, and working in or living in these plantation houses that only had, I think, 3 bedrooms at the most, that were like 10 by 10. You guys, who lives in Honolulu plantation houses? They're so tiny. Anyway, I guess my mom felt crowded in. So they moved to several houses in Honolulu and finally buying a house in Kauai. They had lots of room between houses. And the lots of room between houses gave Dad and Mom the opportunity to say, "Robert Michael!" And so none of the neighbors would hear us. But Dad did the same thing also, yelling for us. So they had the space, we had the space to grow. And we had 12 acres and all of Kauai to roam, and we did that. And we enjoyed it. While raising the family there, Dad had known about Emily and her daughter Carol, our half-sister, who was in the stateside. And yes, Dad wrote to her all the time. And he wanted her to come home to Molokai and be with his family here. Just to add another plate to the table would have been cool. But the thing is, he tried and tried. And on many occasions, I had to talk to my half-sister a lot. And she was so grateful because her mother was so far away on Molokai, some obscure island, and she never had a chance to see them at all, or see any of us at all, except to that latter part in life. And she missed that. She missed the letters. She was so appreciative of the letters. And Dad did buy her a highlights subscription. Every of us remember highlights. She liked to do the puzzles in the back. But that was so important to Carol. And when Dad tried to get her to Molokai, it never worked out. He was so brokenhearted, and he was despondent for a while. And when I told him of Carol's love and appreciation for everything he did, he cried quite a bit. And after crying, he normally would say, "You don't say." He did it. He kept on crying. He said, "Come on, Roy, you're only making me cry." And that's Dad. He wanted to share his love, but he didn't express it in very many words. You don't say. His home was always open for personnel in need. I think Mom and Dad had fostered several foster children that were special, and we had them in our house. And a lot of times I wouldn't know who this person was, except about the plate on the table that we had to share the same amount of food. So the thing is, I was always hungry. But he always helped his community because he was very community oriented. And from day one, when he was a young boy, he was always community oriented. You see some of the older pictures of him being in a band, and he learned how to play all the instruments: trombone, saxophone, clarinet, guitar, anything with strings, just about, even a banjo. But unfortunately, banjo strings don't last long in Hawaii because they rust. You try to tune it and it goes, beep, it's gone. But he helped children in our community, and he did this a lot. He also shared his gifts that he had because he was a very accomplished musician. He was pretty good and very strong-headed or strong-willed. Joyce was strong-willed too, so they both matched each other. But music was his life. And the sharing of that music for all of our community members, not only the families, was awesome. He taught ukulele lessons, guitar lessons whenever he could. He did supplement his income with some of the paid lessons. A lot of the time he did volunteer work and shared his music freely. And he did this with everybody. He made a lot of music books and shared them in every gathering he had. He also required all of us, all his kids, to become musicians. Robert was the only foolish one to pick the biggest thing that was non-portable, so he picked up the piano, where the rest of us picked up ukuleles, guitars, because we could transport that readily. Robert can't carry a piano to this day. With teaching a lot of his community members, he also hopefully planted the seeds for the love of music in our community. We do have a lot of budding musicians in this island of ours, and I don't know if he was influential in that. I hear a lot of the old timers say that he helped us with the music, printed the music, taught the music, and they appreciate that. I'm just waiting for some famous singer that had some connection to Dad and Joyce, so they could pass that on to the next generation. Our generation's kind of grayed out and balding. Hopefully the younger generation, if I can see any here, hopefully they pick up that torch and walk with it. But he did that for everyone. And every time he did that, he sharing his music, he liked to have jam sessions wherever he went, so he would carry his guitar, ukuleles, and all his music books in every family gathering. And that was a requirement for all of us siblings, even cousins and everybody else. If you knew how to play, you will. And so we had a lot of jam sessions. And you notice our family here, we just gather together around Robert. And when he's gone, we still play. A lot of the songs we're not too familiar with because we don't come from that generation like Rosie, Flores, some of the other Rosie, Rito. And a lot of these older people, they love these songs because they didn't have anything to do with TV or anything else that was special. Dad was a stickler for buying new fandangled things. Every time he was a compulsive purchaser. So every time he went to the stores, he probably went to Imamura one time and bought the latest thing that was closest to the iPod of his era. He bought a cassette deck. So with his cassette deck, he would always record his music. He recorded his kids. We had kids of Robert playing, we're screwing around. And I screwed around with him when he was recording by opening them and going, "Hey, what you doing?" He goes, "Oh, stop it! Don't finish you!" Because he had to stop the recorder and record all over again. He got very mad to a certain extent, but he allowed me to turn the mic on and off in doing that. So he did quite a few cassettes, and my brother Timothy had digitized just a couple of them. But Dad did a lot of Filipino songs also, and those are the tongue twisters that this generation cannot even say anything about because I can't speak 2 words. That was our grandmother's fault because she said speak English, just speak English. Nowadays everyone has the newfangled devices that are so much more efficient than cassette decks. Everyone uses Facebook, everyone uses a smartphone. This is a wonderful tool for the next generation because it provides instant memories of which all we have is photographs. And you notice we have a lot of photographs of Dad and our separate families growing up. And John started a new life with Joyce about 30 years ago. They got married. And he brought Keone into the picture. It was an awesome addition to our family because Keone brought a lot. And Joyce did even more so. She was my Spanish teacher, of which I quit her class. And she was really mad at me when I think that. I think Dorothy remembers that to a certain extent. Well, she was mad at me. But at that young age, at 5th grade, I just wanted to go play outside and find something to eat at Lila's house or Grandma's house. That's all I wanted to do. But he was so much in love with Joyce and so very much happy. His music and his love of music increased at that point. Because when you're depressed, you don't think about music. But when you started a new life, he started doing a lot more things with Keone, picking up and playing a lot more to show his love of his new family. And during this period in Hoolehua, he bought a lot of instruments. He was, again, he liked buying things off the cuff, and he did it a lot. He has so much instruments in the house, I think they're overflowing. But during the jam sessions, he brought all of the instruments out and brought them to all the family gatherings and dinners. And I guess we all had to play, we all had to sing. Jam sessions, the love of music was so important in our life because that was a common thing, the common theme that Dad could express his feelings for everyone and everything about him. So I'd like to close with some of the lyrics written by Irving Burden, which we sang last night. Lyrics that had actually expressed the innermost feelings of his family, but mostly for Joyce. I'll be loving you always, with a love that's true always. And the things you plan need a helping hand. I will understand. Always. Always. Days may not be fair. Always. Days will not be here. Always. Not for just an hour. Not for just a day. Not for just a year. But always. We'll miss you and enjoy it.
Joyce Mondoy was born April 9th, 1943 in San Francisco, California. She was born to Elvira Flater and Merrill Blundell. She had an older sister, Joan, and the two of them were very, very close. Their entire family was close. They had a large family, lots of aunties, uncles, cousins. And their house was a gathering place. Everybody came to their house. Mom being the youngest, while the older adults and everyone was out working and working all the hours, she'd go to school and she'd come home and she'd do the housework and she'd cook. And, she'd cook for an army. So when everybody was done with the day, they'd all come back to the house. And they'd have these big dinners. The house in San Francisco was actually a two-story, and on the bottom there was a basement as well. A good size, like a 2-car basement, all concrete, and they'd all gather in there and eat and talk story, play cards, sing, and do all the things that they would do. And I think that really was the start for her, growing up in that kind of very strong family atmosphere, and from a very young age having to take care of so many people that would come to rely on her and her family in that setting. It's funny. So many stories, so many memories. Mom was sure that I go up to San Fran, up to the mainland to get to know the family there, and all the cousins and all the people, California, Utah, and up and down the coast. And but especially the times at home in San Francisco, just to get the memories that she had there. And Mom was adventurous, more adventurous than I am. Like I said, it's a 2-story house, and when she was growing up, so they had these big picture windows that would overlook the city, which is her favorite city. And well, back then, because of building codes, you can open it and you can walk out onto this tiny little ledge. And so for my mother to be deathly afraid of heights, she'd often go out there, stand on it, sit on it, and jump off to go outside. Again, strange for me knowing my mother, who would see me on a ladder, especially in the work that I do, and I'm up on a pole somewhere and I can hear the just come down, I don't need cable that badly. But to hear these stories and to have her to see a different side, a young adventurous side. The hill that they lived on was a really sharp angle, and she'd take roller skates and she'd skate down, fall and walk back up and do it again. And it's that spirit that just continued over and over again, and ultimately that brought her here. Mom grew up going to Catholic school with the nuns, and when she graduated there, she went to school in San Francisco. And she told me a story, and I've heard from people that were there. One day she was on her way out from class, and there's a sign on the door, and it said, sign up for a teaching experience in Molokai. And so she told her girlfriend who she was walking with, hey, that sounds cool, you want to check it out? She's like, no. And so her friend left. And after Mom's passing, I called that friend to let her know. And it was interesting to hear her side of the story. It's exactly that. So from there, she went in. She found out about it, found out it's this small little island in the middle of the Pacific, and she said, it sounds great, I'm signing up. Went home that night, told her mom and her family, Mom, guess what? Guess what? I got a job. They're like, oh, that's great. What is it? Oh, it's a job teaching. Oh, great. Where is it? Molokai. Where? It's in Hawaii. Where? And she got the this city girl, who loved her city, moved 5,000 miles away into an island at the time, probably about 5,000 people on it. And ever since she got here, that was home. And up until the end, it's always been home. She's never wanted to go anywhere else, or when they come to Honolulu, if they're there for more than 2 days, they're really getting antsy. It's like, we gotta go home. It's like, yeah, but shopping, no, we gotta go home. So that's what brought her here. And I think the people here and everyone and the island and the culture here is actually what kept her here. So mom graduated with 2 degrees. She majored in Spanish, and she also majored in education. So she came here and joined some other new teachers that had come, and they all got together up in the teachers' cottages, and they started their careers, they started their lives together. They've remained dear friends to her and to the family over all these years. During that time, she met my father, John Waipa, and they fell in love, they got married, and they had a lot of adventures too. It's funny, we're talking the other day, and there's this story. My mom's uncle owned a ranch and a farm down in San Jose. And one of the times when she was a child, she had gone there to go visit. And he said, oh, why don't you come help me? Why don't you come help me with the pigs? She walked out there, and she's looking, there's all these little brown things running around, but she didn't see this cute little pink pig anywhere. That was her idea. Porky Pig was the only was the only pig she knew. Coming to Molokai and sharing with my father, you know, she quickly learned to hunt, to fish. She'd be the one to clean the fish and the deer and do all those things, and really became a part of the culture. My father died when I was 7 years old in 1979, and from there it was pretty much just my mom and me, and for all the time that we had, you know, she was always there, always, you know. There wasn't ever a time, even growing up as an only child, never was a time where I felt by myself or not a part of the family. And it was years later, I was about 12, that my mom and dad met and got married. They just celebrated their 30 years together in March. Mom had just come back from the hospital, and I had dad come over, and we were all staying at a hotel in Honolulu until then. You know, they got to celebrate their 30 years together. That was big for both of them. Mom and dad had a lot of adventures too, and a lot of life lived. And with the children and grandchildren, even though I don't have any, you know, the instant family that was there, and you know, that was truly her own. And, you know, she got back into that big family again, and you know, she was able to love it, to be a part of that. Aside from family, and interestingly, after Mom passed, just talking to people and hearing all these stories, but we kind of joke. I don't know if God gave her more hours in a day or what it was, but I sometimes call her before work around 7 in the morning and just say, you know, how's it going? And she rattled off a list of about 15 things that she's done already. I'm like, okay, I'm just starting my day. I'm tired. I'm going back to bed. I don't know where she got her energy, where she did, but she was so entwined in so many people's lives. From her activities at church, her involvement in church, her Bible study groups, her different ministries as a lector, as a minister of the Eucharist, hospitality in funerals, and just being sure that everyone's taken care of. And that was her biggest thing. You know, she made dinner and have extra, and you know, go bring it to somebody that was by themselves, and not just drop it off. Let's sit down and talk story. You know, just think how you're doing. And all the way to the end, she was more concerned about others and being sure that everybody was taken care of. And you know, that was the biggest thing I got. And it's funny, since her passing, I'm a lot more aware, not just of the things that she did, but more aware of opportunities to follow in those footsteps. And I've talked to people, and it's funny because we all kind of feel the same way. It's like, well, you know, I'm going through the same life, and I'm feeling this huge loss, this huge void in my life, but I'm seeing so many opportunities out there to reach out to others and to make a difference and to genuinely be involved with others and with everyone. So, as I was thinking about both of their passings, and I'm so thankful that got to spend the time with them and got to be there in the good times and the bad. And both of them were so upset that people had to be around and had to go through to provide service to them. But they're so thankful to all those that that helped in any way, prayers and stopping by, and for everything that they were able to do. Last year, around Mom's birthday, we finally got to throw her a birthday party. She loved parties. That was truly the highlight. She had so much fun. She was so excited, all the decorations and all the fanfare, and just she loved to celebrate life. And at the same time, with everything going on with Dad and the struggle to bring him back to good health also. When they got back from rehab and the hospitals and their long stay in Honolulu, aside from that breath of relief that they were home, one of the big things that they did was they wanted to throw a party. And they threw a party for all those that had helped. The paramedics, the firefighters, the doctors, the pharmacists, the people that would touch them, help them in some way to give back. And that was a successful and a meaningful party to them. And that was their last party that they threw. And it went along with how they lived their lives. So I was thinking about it, and I was trying to write a song, and I couldn't find the words that I wanted to express. And one of my favorite songs a friend of mine had written, and I really love this song. And as I was going over the words, it just really seems to fit to me. So I want to end real quick with a song "Without You" by Jeff Rasmussen.
Right anymore. I can't help feel this way. Though the great times we shared together will never fade away, I'll always feel this way. Though you're gone, you haven't gone away. I'm not sure just what I'm trying to say. All I know is I love you in every way. And although you can't be seen, I can feel it to me. And I just can't stop thinking about you. Whenever we're apart, closer than shadows could ever be. like this before. Someday we'll be together